Here's something I wanted to talk about. Did you know that probably without your knowing, several of your favorite Pokemon have lost their uniqueness over the years, generation by generation, or even from one game to the next? No? Well, that's probably because you never paid as much attention, I guess. But you know what? Let's take a trip down memory lane and try to find out who lost what over the years. Be advised, this is going to make me feel old, so if I start sounding older, that's probably why. Let's get into it!
Is there more to us than the words we say, the games we play? Can we know that we're not dreaming?
Now, while many of the legends in Scarlet and Violet have gained new moves, new signature moves specifically to be spammed, a vast majority of the Pokemon unlucky enough to be not seen as legendary Pokemon or popular in competitive have sadly lost what made them special, whether because of other Pokemon learning their moves and using them better, or because they were removed since very few people actually use them, or other reasons entirely. Starting off, first on the list is going to be Gyarados and Dragonite from Generation 1 and beyond with Dragon Rage. Did you know that they and every other dragon-themed Pokemon, and popular Pokemon lost access to this once iconic move that we all used early on in the game? Don't tell me you didn't use Dragon Rage when it was available. While the move only did a net total of 40 damage regardless of level difference or who used it, Dragon Rage stopped existing in Sword and Shield. But during the Red and Blue days, Gyarados learned this move early, and unless you grinded out a ton at the game corner for Dratini in Red and Blue, Gyarados often was the most powerful Pokemon after it evolved from Magikarp, thanks to this move always dealing 40 damage during the early game to mid game. In the late game, its damage was negligible and only so used because we thought Dragon was OP early on, and it was potentially removed for story balance reasons. There we go. Starting in a game where you can challenge the first gym with a fully evolved starter at level 100 that is loyal to you. Yeah, sure, Dragon Rage was imbalanced. Sure, Game Freak, sure, if you say so. Next up, we're going to be talking about Dragonite. Did you know that Dragonite lost access to this signature move, Barrier? No? Well, it's probably because Dragonite doesn't learn Barrier. The only instance of Dragonite ever learning Barrier was Lance's Dragonite from Generation 1. And if you try to get Dragonite yourself, you can't get Barrier onto Dragonite, even in Generation 1. Now, you can call hacks all you want on Lance and his Dragonite, but Dragonite could get it, thanks to an event in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. If you competed in an online competition, you could qualify for Lance's Dragonite, which did have the signature move on it. Given it was, an online competition and it was more for a reference, so its, viability wasn't exactly there, but it was still neat to have. Alas, sadly, Barrier does not exist as of Sword and Shield. So, the only way to keep Barrier on any Pokemon now, especially Lance's Dragonite, as you can see here, this is my Lance's Dragonite, the only way I can keep it now is to never bring it into any of the Switch games and beyond. So, rest in peace, Barrier Dragonite. Now, moving on to more noticeable ones, Heal Order from Vespaquin. This highly bulky bug was known for 3 moves that no other bug had. The first one of them being Attack Order, the second one being Defend Order, and the third one being Heal Order. Now, they did as their name suggested, in order. Vespaquin, when using Attack Order, could have all of its Combi foot soldiers go on the attack and deal some respectable damage with a 90 base bug attack. And it would also order them to defend her, increasing her defenses by 1 stage when used. And when she gave the Heal Order, she would restore 50% of her total health. However, like most moves in Sword and Shield, sadly, Vespaquin lost access to Heal Order. Why? I don't know. It wasn't any more broken than its only other remaining healing option, being Roost. It just had 5 more power points. It seems odd that they would just remove this signature move. You know, they would remove this signature move from Her Majesty Vespaquin. Starting in Generation 6, we had access to 2 Pokemon, both of them being starters, that have since lost their unique moves to other Pokemon. First up, the most recent Terra boss herself, Delphox. Delphox's signature move, Mystical Fire, did very reliable fire-based damage, but more importantly, it reduced the special attack stat of the opponent by 1 stage. Now, it was only available to the Delphox line at the time, making her quite the Pokemon to use. However, 1 generation later, Miss Magius could learn Mystical Fire as well, and she was much faster than Delphox by exactly 1 point. Since then, the Ralts line, the Hatterene line, Armarouge, Enamorus, and of course, Fluttermane have all since been able to use this once signature move of only the Delphox line. Delphox lost her signature move and even her wand this generation. Oh, poor Delphox. Our next starter, the Chestnut line, learned 2 moves upon evolving. First, Needle Arm, a relatively uncommon and, not that impressive move that dealt decent damage, but had the chance to flinch the target if they hadn't moved yet. It was a move that was shared by 2 other Pokemon at the time, the Cacturne and the Maractus line, but like all other moves that have been mentioned so far, it no longer exists since Sword and Shield. However, it was the second move that Chestnut learned that we are going to be talking about, Spiky Shield, a move that is extremely special given what it does. At the time of X and Y, only Chestnut could learn this move naturally, and when it was activated, it worked exactly like Protect, but it also dealt damage to any Pokemon that dared use a physical attack against it while the shield was up. Alas, not 1 game later, starting in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Cacturne got this move. And then, obviously, as of Scarlet and Violet, Glimmora also got access to this move. At the very least, at least when it comes to Greninja's signature move, Water Shuriken, until Exceligor comes back and we find out if it still keeps Water Shuriken, at least Greninja is still special. Yeah, at least Greninja is still special. We hope. Our last Pokemon that I will be talking about is the one that I'm currently working on gathering all of the patterns of, Vivillon. Did you know that Vivillon had access to a move called Powder? Now, while Powder did no damage, if the opponent used a Fire-type move immediately after Powder was applied, then that Pokemon would take self-inflicted damage and the move would be prevented from working. Just imagine stopping a Torkoal from using Eruption at full HP under the sunlight, with the Terra Fire by the way, because this butterfly applied some powder to it. Alas, in Alola, much like many other Pokemon, this Pokemon was no longer the only user of this move, thanks to Ribombee learning it via breeding, who is a faster and stronger version of Vivillon when this move is concerned. But it did not keep it long. As of Sword and Shield, Powder is gone. Alas, Powder is gone. Which is sad because I might have actually used it, considering all the Chi-Yu and Heatran spam from Fire-type Pokemon, etc. Yeah, it really is kind of sad when you think about it. This Pokemon might have actually found some use from me. Are there any other signature moves of Pokemon that they either lost access to thanks to time or because other Pokemon learned them and used them better than the original inventor? And do you wish some of these moves came back, whether for competitive reasons or because the Pokemon not being able to use them just doesn't feel right? Or do you wish they were unique to only those lines, so we have a reason to pick them over their superior counterparts because they have those moves to begin with as well? Tell me down below. Until then, take care of yourselves, everybody. Bye-bye!
When you've reached the point where you can't go on, just come to me, you'll be safe from harm. If you trust in me, then I'll trust in you. There's nothing more that I need to do. If you put your hands in front of mine, we'll be shining through one at a time. Just understand you